everyone, welcome to episode 2. We're going to try and actually do like an actual intro this time. I'm your host, Mumi, and with me is my host, AotY.
Hello.
And Sai, I think last time people got the wrong impression of us a bit.
I disagree.
I think people thought we were very cynical in the last episode.
Did they?
Some people said we were
Some
too cynical.
people,
We're
am I
too
right?
young to be so cynical. So, I thought it was kind of hard for someone to be so cynical when they love magical girls as much as I do. So this episode, we're just going to focus on magical girls. And to help us with that, we've brought on Kai of Clearandsweet fame.
Hello. I fear I've been miscast, though. If you're trying to bring down the cynicism levels of your podcast, I'm the wrong person to bring on. I was born a cranky old man, so
It's fine. We're all just cynical assholes here. So for the the viewers at home who aren't aware of your stuff, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? Who's the man behind the Groucho glasses?
All right. Well, yeah, like to style myself as an anime critic, particularly in the magical girl and magical girl adjacent sphere. I have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/clearandsweet where I make some mostly long form critical analysis. I've done 3 big ones so far. I've done The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, The Adolescence of Utena, and boy, a shot-by-shot breakdown of every episode of Puella Magi Madoka Magica. So if you're interested in that, if you want to hear me talk about all the themes, directing choices, shot composition, lines, dubbing, every single thing that constitutes a finished anime product, then you can go check out those 17-hour playlists that I have on that channel.
Yeah, I heard you got some really good guests on your Madoka series.
Hey, special shout outs to this guy Mumi guested on episode 10 of the Madoka Magica breakdown series.
Oh yeah,
and it's been great.
I've heard that guy.
But literally, it's been great to connect with people. Right now, I'm doing a magical girl tier list video where we're ranking every magical girl show ever made. And one of the things I've done is reach out to all these different people who really wouldn't have a chance to speak about their passions, especially in front of a mic and have it recorded and put out there. So it's been really cool to meet people. And the connection I have made with you has been a really fun one. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, no, thank you for coming on. It's good to have you. So I guess that kind of brings us to, you talked about what you do on your channel, and I guess that's kind of reflective of what you kind of get out of anime. But what got you into anime in the first place? Like,
Sure. I actually have a very distinct memory. Well, anime in general, I don't know. I was always destined by the time and place I was born to wind up at anime sooner or later. But I have a very distinct memory of when I became a magical girl fan, I think.
oh,
I don't know if you know, you guys are a bit younger, I think.
I definitely am. I don't know how much younger Mumi is.
I don't think I'm that much younger than you.
Okay, well let Grandpa tell you a story about the early 2000s.
Oh, I was there.
I think it was 2001. Okay, in the early 2000s, late 90s into early 2000s, Sailor Moon aired on Toonami after school in like an after school time slot. You know, when they brought back Toonami, they aired it at like 11 p.m. And I thought that was so dumb because it was originally, supposed to be after kids after school. And that's where I watched Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon and a lot of those shows.
Outlaw Star, Gundam Wing.
Yeah, Tenchi Muyo, saw my first titties. No, it was.
I remember seeing Naruto that way, being freaked out.
Oh yeah. You see boobies in the first episode of Naruto, don't you?
Yeah.
Cleavage.
That's
it's censored, but still.
Okay. So was Tenchi Muyo back in the day.
Yeah.
I digress. Loved Sailor Moon when I was watching it, and I didn't know why. Obviously, when you're 10, 11 years old, you don't really have the capacity for critical thought in that way. But I distinctly remember watching Sailor Moon R, The Promise of the Rose, which to this day, one of my favorite animated movies, or movies in general of all time. Love that film. And I remember watching it while we were on vacation in Virginia Beach, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind. I later would stumble on Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind and had a similar like revelatory experience, but I sought out magical girls when I was in college, which happened to be 2011, and I was just sitting there 2010, early 2011, watching every episode of Sailor Moon at 22 years old, and as I did when I was 11, 12 years old, and trying to figure out why I still like this in a way that I didn't still like stuff like Power Rangers.
That's it's interesting because there must be something about like when you go off on your own, like college and stuff, that you kind of go back to things that you enjoyed as a kid. Because like I felt I had like a similar experience because we kind of talked about it in the last podcast. Like I totally got out of anime, and then like when all my friends kind of went off to college, we all went and did stuff. Like I kind of came back to anime just because I had more free time. It was like familiar. It was like, oh yeah, I know this stuff. So it's kind of weird that you kind of had like a similar experience in that regard.
Yeah.
For me, it was really the catalyst was that I was taking some bullshit textual criticism classes in college, some
Oh,
portrait of a lady, or reading these old classical novels and stuff.
why are the curtains blue?
Yeah, yeah, and the thing was, I I took a this is a story. This is a legitimate story. I mean, this whole podcast could be me just telling you stories, but I had this guy. He had tenure at Syracuse University. His name was like Robert Jordan or something. He was like a big wig in criticism and film
Hmm.
criticism, and he would study westerns. That was his thing. He was big on western films, and we watched Red River. And there's a shot in Red River where the camera goes around. I think it's Clint Eastwood. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, quick correction here. The 1948 film Red River starred Montgomery Clift and John Wayne, not Clint Eastwood.
And then it comes back to it starts in his point of view, and then it ends looking at him after a 360 from the other character's point of view. And the professor, this was like his big revelation, was like the camera behaves in exactly the same way as the bracelet symbol that's in the movie if you trace the path of the camera. And he like dropped the fucking mic after telling us that. And I sat there in the audience, and I was like, wait, shit, wait, how much money does this guy make? Wait, I can do that. That's not even that. That's like not even that supported or legitimate of a reading. And this guy's one of the best in his field. Hold on, let me try. And that's what I did. And yeah, my entire pursuit of my life in my 20s was figuring out what made magical girl shows valid for me when I was a child and as an adult, and why did I connect to them in a way that I haven't connected to other superhero stories or fantasy stories or other media in general.
So you've basically kind of got into anime specifically for like magical girls then.
Pretty much. I watched oh boy. Well, yeah, it was 2011, so I finished watching like Sailor Moon, all 200 episodes of Sailor Moon like 3 times through, both in dub and sub, and I watched the dub and the sub at the same time to see the differences, and it was a whole fucking rabbit hole. Um and then Madoka Magica aired. And yeah, and then I watched The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, and I watched K-On!
Yeah, my favorite
And
magical girl shows.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, well, there's I part of this podcast I hope is discussing things that are adjacent to magical girl shows that still represent the values inherent in magical girl shows.
Oh,
Uh,
certainly.
and I would say Haruhi is certainly one.
Devilman Crybaby.
It's Devilman Crybaby, exactly. That's what I have non-facetiously said to my friend that Devilman Crybaby is a magical girl show. Evangelion is a magical girl show, if you think about it thematically. Uh, where was I? Oh yeah, getting into anime, and then I tried to watch Utena, bounced off Utena because it was too weird. Watched Cardcaptor Sakura. The big one for me was Princess Tutu, which is still my favorite show of all time to this day,
Hmm.
right up there with Madoka Magica. And then I kind of saw that the creative minds behind Sailor Moon were the people working on Princess Tutu, And then I said, okay, I need to watch the other stuff that people that made Sailor Moon have done, which then spiraled into me writing a grandiose manifesto about the works of Kunihiko Ikahara and Junichi Sato post Sailor Moon. And then in 2015 at Otakon, I gave a presentation about just that. Or not Otakon. No, it was not at Otakon. It was at Anime Boston. Yep. And working my ideas into that type of constructed and focused and uh, thesis. It's basically a thesis, of what makes a magical girl show, what makes it valuable, and what the shows following Sailor Moon took from Sailor Moon's constituent parts. That really formed it in my mind and explained to me what I liked about magical girls.
So, what exactly do you like? Because I mean, I know what I like about them, but what is it that draws you to magical girls specifically so much more so than a lot of the other anime that you enjoy?
Grace and glamour is the thesis of my statement. Well, let's say it's something more primal. Do you know the quote from? I know you're in Texas, so I assume you're familiar with the Bible.
Vaguely.
There's a quote from Jesus that says, "Faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love." And it's not just limited to Christianity at all. It's a more broader idea of this kind of these ephemeral, fanciful values that we like to expout. They have no inherent value to our lives rationally, right? And yet humans must behave as they do. And if you watch my Devoka series, there's a great Terry Pratchett quote that says the exact same thing. And to me, the magical girl is all entirely about affirming those values and showing that they do have legitimate power, and ensuring that they are empowered even in the face of outrageous odds, even in the face of logical impossibilities, because the faith that you have in other people, in yourself, in um, the value inherent in each human life is what paradoxically gives them their value. So I think when you say, everything can be a magical girl show, if you think about it in the right way, that, yeah, the media that I've connected to, like something like Nier Automata, right, is in no way a magical girl show. And yet it still touches on that same core value. Or something like Evangelion, we are the words I love you. It is very much informed by those values that are present in magical girl shows. That's what I needed to believe in the world, and that I still choose to believe in my daily life.
Sure, sure. I guess for me, I guess it's like the aesthetics in a way, where it's like it's very much removed from, like, in a Western context, what we would generally kind of consume. And even in, like, anime context, it's still within that same kind of aesthetic, like if a Dragon Ball Z, or and name your battle shonen, of what, like, that empowerment of, like, strength empowerment, but they're taking it and, like, utilizing it in a way that they're able to, like, explore these different themes. And these things are so far removed from just your typical, like, let's beat up the bad guy kind of thing, or even like a Naruto, where it's like we have to redeem this evil person. Like, so many magical girl shows don't even necessarily have, like, a true villain. It's just like the conflict between people, and, like, just living their everyday life, like, in a precure, where it's just like their apprehensions have been manifested. And even that's not even, like, the best example. If you go into, like, an Ojimajo Doremi, where you know it's purely just the conflict, like the interpersonal conflict between the children in the class, and then you get to flesh out this cast without just making them feel, like, cheapened as, like, just these characters that exist in this show to be you know helped and then forgotten about, like in so many, like, contemporary battle shonen kind of shows, where they will save somebody and then that person just kind of is off to the wayside. Like, as much as I like the first part of the Yu Yu Hakusho manga, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Absolutely not.
So at the beginning of the Yu Yu Hakusho manga, it's basically just him kind of doing these errands as like this ghost and having to redeem himself. And so it's very much kind of in line with that, where he's just helping these people with like their problems, but they don't necessarily know he's there because he's a ghost or whatever. That's the gimmick of it. It was completely removed from the anime, and it's kind of sad. But even in that, like all those characters, like you invest yourself at the beginning part of that manga, all those characters just go by the wayside. You got like this kid that had a superhero fetish, completely forgotten about. A girl that had like a boy that she liked, and she died by a park bench. Spoilers for the beginning of Yu Yu Hakusho, by the way. He helps her, completely forgotten about. Like all these characters, all these side plots that you get invested in, getting to see like their problems, kind of manifest and be solved by our main character, and all these characters just are irrelevant. They turns into the battle shonen and Yu Yu Hakusho does. It goes into tournament arcs, which are good, but it's just always was like a shame that they didn't really matter at the end. Whereas you get like something like Doremi, none of those characters really feel like they're just forgotten about. Like, sure, they kind of fall to the wayside for a little bit, but then they come back, a little bit of relevance here and there. But they ultimately would come back for like a follow-up episode where like, they would touch on the problems that they had in the previous episode arc, that they kind of followed them in. And even sometimes when they were like instrumental in solving someone else's problem, they would touch on that as well. And that's something that's very kind of unique to Magical Girl series in a way, that they're able to generate that much interest through just interpersonal conflict, with this like still having that aesthetic of, I guess like glitz and glamour, like you said.
Can I take what you're saying and run with it, because it's very close to
Sure.
what my idea was about Grace and Glamour. But do you remember the last episode of Magical Doremi?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
remember
sure you
that gut
do,
punch.
because like I'm sure Sai, you
Wait,
do
okay,
too.
hold on. For context, are we talking about the last episode of Dokkan?
The literal last episode of well, yeah, okay, chronologically, yeah, no,
I've not seen. I've seen the first episode of Doremi. I haven't seen anything after that.
Yeah, Sai is our layman here. He's meant to interject.
I thought everybody that joined your server has to watch Doremi. I thought that was the deal.
That was the later rule that we implemented, and he just snuck in. He got grandfathered in.
Grandfathered. Okay, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but like the entire conflict at the end of Doremi relies upon the bonds that they've built, and that it's a great example of how the magical girl empowers the grace aspect, I would say, or what I label to be grace, and that is to the togetherness, that is the other people, and usually a function of how well a show is, or how much I will like a show, let's say that, and how much I think a show is valuable as a magical girl show is a function of how well do they tie in those character moments, the simple happy time that they spent together, with the climaxes of the giant laser beam battles.
Sure.
So that goes from everything from like Nanoha befriending Fate to all the kids trying to get Doremi out of the Mahodo. And yeah, it's at the core of everything. It's like the if you want to talk about the Ava rebuilds, the same thing. It's the um in a magical girl show, the thing that wins has to be the girl part, not the magical part. And I think too that you brought up like the shonen way of doing it. That yeah, I'm directly opposed to stuff like Tenga Toppa Gurren Lagann. I don't like those shows because they're all about self empowerment. And I think The Magical Girl is a very much a communal shared experience, and together with other people, and believing in other people, not just in yourself.
Well, it's interesting because this actually isn't even the first podcast all three of us have done together. Because
True.
that goes to the Wonder Egg Priority Impromptu podcast we did for your channel.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
think we
thank you guys for that. I
we-
really appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
talked
that was
about doing
fun.
that like with every episode as well, and then we only did it for the last one.
Yeah, man, I
When the
boy,
next show comes up, we will do every episode if we think that it's interesting enough to talk about on an episode by episode basis.
I mean, we could do that with like any show with this podcast at this point,
this is
because we could
Well,
just
yeah,
talk about a show for first 30 minutes or something.
yeah.
But yeah, that was very much Magical Girl inspired when she
absolutely,
invoked
absolutely.
the literal like
Oh yeah.
ethos of Sailor Moon.
Yeah,
Well, it wasn't. What then they basically just explicitly reference the opening, or was it a transformation sequence? What episode was that? Was this episode 11? Second to last episode?
Of
It gets so
yeah.
confusing
Wonder
with the
Egg.
recap.
Though it's in all the episodes if you look very closely.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the one little background element of Wonder Egg Priority is the transformation background for Sailor Moon.
I think when we watched that, we all simultaneously went, "Oh hey, look at that! That's cool."
Yeah, I think Wonder Egg was like fun, but it didn't actually like really capture the ethos of like a Magical Girl very well. Like I
No, with
think they
the
could
ending.
have. Well, see the ending they could have done. I mean, we talked about that, but
We're rehashing old content. We're a real podcast now.
Right. Yeah. Go over to the channel and check the Wonder Egg ending video. No spoilers for the
yeah,
ending of Wonder Egg.
we'll put a little annotation to the top right, linking you to
Yeah.
it.
But I do think that Wonder Egg deserves more content before it finally ends as a Magical Girl show. I think it's got some dangling.
Maybe we'll.
Definitely.
Hopefully, we'll. I wouldn't mind seeing more Wonder Egg, but
Oh, there was something. So, have you seen the video got posted today? Which is going to date when we're recording this, but this probably isn't going to go up for another couple of weeks. There was a video that got released by Noralities about Cardcaptor Sakura.
No, I am interested in this
Yeah, it
because
was.
I have a connection to Noralities.
Oh, what's
is it a
that
positive or
connection?
negative one?
Oh no, it's not really even a connection. She just quoted my Utna breakdown series when she was talking
Hmm.
about her Utna thing.
There is a part in that video which, you know, there are some parts that people are probably gonna take issue with, but that's not generally what I'm talking about.
I haven't seen the
um,
Cardcaptor Sakura one. I gotta go watch it.
so there's a part where she talks about clear card in that one, and she makes like an interesting point that I didn't agree with, where she was. I mean, she was praising clear card for having like higher stakes than the original. At least that's how it came off, in what she was saying, was that she was referring to have you seen Clear Card?
Yes, yes.
So she was referring to like the dragon. She's like, oh, there's like a world ending dragon, which is higher stakes than anything in Cardcaptor Sakura, which I don't think is a good thing. Like she was saying it as if it was like a benefit, like a good thing. But
Yeah.
that was kind of that was one of my favorite parts of the original Sakura series, was that there wasn't a villain. There wasn't even really an antagonist. Like there was functional antagonists that were just kind of,
Yeah, UA. Yeah.
yeah, but
You-
they didn't really. It's just like people just living their lives, and then you had
right.
the cloud cards essentially.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, do you know what my like biggest memories of Cardcaptor Sakura are, or the times I think Cardcaptor Sakura had the highest stakes? 2 episodes. One with the vanish card in the cave when they're on vacation, where the people start disappearing. Like the people around Sakura start just vanishing.
Oh yeah, I remember
And
that
then
episode.
the other one in the fight against UA, when what's on the line is that all the memories and experiences she's had with all the characters. And yeah, that is what, if she fails to be the card captor, she'll lose all of that. And that in and of itself is valuable to her. And like that's more stakes than the destruction of the world, or
In a way, yeah. I mean, definitely on like a scale, uh, just the destruction of the planet would encompass what, functionally what you're saying is, people's memory are going to be erased if they're dead. But definitely from like a narrative perspective, that person will like, this immediate character's memory will be erased is definitely more impactful than just, the numbers of just the planet will be destroyed.
Well, that's what I'm saying about the Magical Girl Show is that it gives you all this slice of life stuff, and then it presents, it shows you how nice it is, and all these relationships, and how these characters really do value each other, and then it uses that and challenges that in the climax, and makes it meaningful, like in Sailor Moon R, The Promise of the Rose, when they have this whole cutscene of all the times Usagi has helped all the inner soldiers, and that hits hard because you sat there and you watched that, and you felt that it was meaningful to all those characters and to you.
Yeah, stakes are not inherently bad by any means. I mean, every Precure season deals with the end of the world. And I definitely wouldn't say that every Precure season was bad, but it's definitely something unique when you get a series that doesn't feel the need to just inflate itself with like this, we're gonna blow up the planet if you don't save the 7 crystals or whatever. Like you don't really need that scale. And I think, Ojiba Jadormi again is just the perfect example of that.
Sure.
Well, example I think of what you're talking about. It's not a magical girl show, but Dragon Maid does that a lot. Where for most seasons, your first several episodes are slice of life goofing around, and then they introduce stakes, drama, emotional stuff like that towards the end of both season 1 and season 2. So I think that'd be a clear example of at least where I think maybe introducing stakes not the
Yeah,
most appropriate.
yeah. I mean, I'm an apologist for that because I think it's kind of fine. I mean, it's definitely not my preference for Dragon Maid, but
Yeah, same, exactly.
it kind of just gives you context to things. I mean, it's not like that stuff was completely absent from the first part. I mean, when they introduced
No.
Toru, she's got like the sword in her and everything, so you got that foreshadowing. But yeah, I mean, I definitely can see the gripe about it going from this funny titty show with bouncing boob girls just being completely ridiculous
Cute
to
dragon lolly. Look at her be cute.
suddenly asking you to just take it very seriously when it talks about like interspecies issues. And yeah, I can
Yeah,
understand.
Kobayashi's gonna die one day. You should give up on her and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily to Magical Girl's benefit to kind of depart from the more low stakes plots. At least as far as like the numbers go. Obviously, it's not inherently bad, but we do get a lot of Magical Girl Sight and Daybreak Illusions, stuff like that. We don't. I always defend that because we don't really get a whole lot. It just seems like that because there's just such like a low amount of Magical Girl shows coming out now that even the 10 that we've gotten, even though each year is since Madoka came out, even though each year has had like a Precure, and you had like a Twin Angel break and Mucal Dreamy in there as well. So really they're outnumbered. It seems so saturated because there's just such a small amount of representation of like these different, genres or subgenres of the magical girls genre.
Yeah, if you wanna go into a long podcast about, we'll have to do a whole different podcast about just all the failings of something like a magical girl site. Uh, but
I don't even know what that is, so
good.
You're
Keep it
better
that
for
way.
it.
I'll remain ignorant.
But what I would say is that it is a bit of confirmation bias. If you go into the Magical Girl discords where they are very much watching the shows for, kindergarten Japanese female children, then stuff like Dreamy far outweighs anything like Magical Sight in terms of impact. So, again, a topic for another time, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, we can segue into Aria. We can touch on Princess Tutu here, because Princess Tutu, it's an interesting one because it's hard to even consider it a magical girl show as far as like the aesthetic of it. I mean, you do got the transformation sequence, but it does go against so many of the conventions in that it focuses on problem solving through like just the music, and then it ultimately, not the music, sorry, the dancing, and then it ultimately like comes around and it's almost like more like a Rayearth in a way, where it's almost like the focus is kind of more on like the fantasy element of it.
Well, yeah, that's certainly a thing. And I was on a podcast talking about Princess Tutu too, in some depth. The 2222. Watch out for Princess 223. That's going to be a banger.
Oh god.
Princess Tutu is many things, and it is absolutely a I don't want to say deconstruction, but it references fairy tales a lot and talks a lot about those and just the fantasy stories and the power of stories in general. It's a lot of different things. It is not just a magical girl show, and I would say most magical girl shows are in some way something else. Like Kill la Kill is a magical girl show. It does have these values of togetherness and empowering, believing in others, but it's also, Hiroyuki Imaishi doing cool action poses and referencing Tomorrow's Joe or stuff like that.
Made for an entirely different audience than something.
Yeah, exactly. Like Pretty Cure, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the it's a spectrum, right? First of all, I do kind of take a bit of umbrage with you not looking at it, or saying that it's not a magical girl show aesthetically. I totally think it is. And when you say the problems are solved by dance, I would say no. The problems are solved by talking out the issues in exactly the same way as something like Hard Catch Pretty Cure.
They're just doing it through
the lens of dance and tutu and classical music. So yeah, I don't know. For me, any show, the content is always secondary, always ancillary. The setting, the all that nonsense stuff. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is the characters, what they feel, what they think, and what they do, and the choices that they make, and what that tells us about life and how we should live it.
Yeah, and to be fair, like I do very much consider Princess Tutu a magical girl show. It's just, it is very different than like your Piro magical girl shows and your Sailor Moon kind of lineage.
It is what I would call not a starter magical girl show. It is an advanced magical girl show, I guess.
Which is funny because a lot of people tend to watch Princess Tutu as one of like their first if they get into anime, outside of magical girl shows.
That's crazy. I don't know how you would even do that. I don't know. There's people like watching Madoka Magica before they've seen any other magical girl shows. I'm like, what are you doing?
I mean, most people do.
I know they do. I just don't know why.
Well, didn't Tutu have a dub that played on like American television at one point?
It's got a fantastic dub. I don't know that it played on American television.
Yeah, I don't know if it aired on television. But yeah, I guess that kind of brings us around to
we should explain the context there, that that was the Princess Tutu was a result of Ikiko Ito and Junichi Sato forming that when they were doing the later seasons of Sailor Moon and then going off to do that on their own. And my presentation of Grace versus Glamour kind of traces that lineage of ideas from Sailor Moon into Princess Tutu, in that she wants Princess Tutu, much like Usagi, or Duck, much like Usagi, wants all that glamour of being with the prince, of having this miracle romance. She lusts after the kind of spectacle of it all, of being a human and being somebody important. And then by the end, they both realize the triumph of Grace. What they really wanted was just the people beside them all along and the relationships that they made along the way.
Yeah, that's definitely like the strength of magical girl shows, is when they kind of really focus on the interpersonal like dynamics as opposed to, you know, getting bogged down with I'm thinking of like Tropical Rouge Precure here. Where
Oh, come on.
did you see the recent episode of that one?
Yes, Tropical Rouge Freaker. Yes, I'm watching every episode. I gotta watch this this weekend's episode.
That was so you didn't watch the most recent one then?
No, the one that came out just now.
Okay, because the one that you watched was good. This one was it was a bit rough. It was just
So I would go in a different direction with that. Like Tropical Rouge Precure has a number of like character moments that I feel super impactful and super good, and most of it's centered on Manatu and Laura, and you know that's fine. It's what it is. But I think those are those good character building relationships that are going to manifest in the climaxes and make the show an impactful and traditional magical girl show. Now, I think that something that emphasizes glamour very heavily, and I talk about this in the way that Kurihiko Ikahara split off from that, from the idea of grace and glamour in Sailor Moon, is that something like Utena, where Utena is trapped and thrown into this society that values all this spectacle and all this end of the world nonsense and all this gotta have duels and the Rose Pride, and she's swept up in it to the point where she loses herself along the way. You know, spoilers for Utena. And then only at the very, very end do you see a little bit of grace shine through, and then her realize that the moments of grace that she had along the way were kind of super much more important. And Ikahara loves to do this, and this is kind of where I trace his work into Penguin Drum, which is again one of probably my second favorite show after Madoka Magica and Princess Tutu. Where it's all about the glamour, and there's absolutely no grace, and the character that represents grace in Penguin Drum is kept in hogtied. She's not allowed to act upon the show for most of the show, and that contrasts with the Junichi Sato trend line after Sailor Moon, who heavily emphasized grace to the point of Tamayura, Amanchu, and the first one, Aria.
that's a great segue into.
Thank you, I did it.
Yeah,
Took me a while to get there. That panel is up on YouTube, though. By the way, if you want to go listen to all that, we talk about that.
I'll put a link right there, right in the top right for you.
Cool.
Right
So
there.
yeah, Aria the what was it called? Somebody with some Italian expertise want to tackle that one?
Oh, are we talking about the current movie, the Cresciupolo?
Cresciupello.
See,
I don't have the name in front of me, but yeah, that one, the most recent one. I think we
They're
talked about it a
all-
little bit after we all watched it. But yeah, that was a trip. What did
Trip down memory lane.
yeah, exactly. It was real fan servicey, but hey, that's the fan service I wanted, and it's been what 10 years, so yeah, feed it to me.
Well, it's been
More.
gosh, it has
yeah.
been like almost
15.
5 years since Avenire actually.
Yeah,
I was thinking of it directly references the Origination episode. So when did
Yeah.
Origination episode 9 air? Was it 2006?
8.
Okay, 8. So 13
Yeah,
years.
2008. Yeah, speaking
then-
of that, I don't know if I like that insight into Athena's character that they gave.
Oh, come on. So okay, so that's the spoilers by the way, but that's the big like crux of this film is that in episode 9 of Aria the Origination, when Alice is being promoted, Athena gives her like harsh advice when the water's rising. What did she say specifically? I forget what it was.
Basically, she said something to that I can't remember exactly what she said, but she said something to if you don't sing with like emotion, you won't because
Yes.
Alice was feeling insecure, and she was like, if you don't sing with commitment and emotion, you won't move the hearts of your patron.
Yes.
And
Yes.
she said that with like the intent, like the episodes, basically the movie I should say, is telling us that she said that with the intent of, you know, if she fails this test, and me saying this could potentially make her fail this test, as, you know, it might shake her confidence and she just might, you know, fall apart in the middle of it. That would be okay. And the whole conflict of like why they haven't been talking to each other over the years is, or I guess the years, is because she's felt this guilt
Yeah.
over having that thought of it's okay if she fails.
It was positioned more in my mind as more selfish. That yeah, it's okay if she fails, so that I can spend more time with her because I so value this relationship.
Yeah, and I feel like it's very similar to like Alicia.
Yes, I was going to
Mindset.
reference that. Yeah, that is explicitly referenced in what, episode 12 of Origination.
Yeah, the second to last, I think.
Okay, so maybe
Yeah.
11. Okay. Yeah, where Alicia says that she directly held Akari back. She could have been a primo long ago, but she selfishly held Akari back.
Yeah, but
Just yeah.
I feel like there's a difference in actively going back and filling in like motivations for a character that weren't necessarily made explicit
Sure,
in the moment.
sure. So that raises the question, like, was that intended? Was that Athena's mindset? I haven't gotten to that part in the manga yet, but was that Athena's mindset when she said that in episode 9, or was it, you know, intended to be just hard advice?
And you know, it very well could have been. Um, but the fact that they like have now come out with like a canonical in universe, you know, reason for it, it kind of detracts from any that you could have made for yourself. Like in that instance, I would have taken that more as like Athena's passion for singing
Right.
itself, and
Yep.
like
Yep.
her not wanting to let Alice, you know, basically insult the thing that she'd love to do the most by doing it half-heartedly, and just kind of giving her that nudge that she needed by taking the one thing that Athena took very seriously. Uh,
Yeah, and not going half-hearting on singing, because singing is dear to Athena too. Could it
exactly.
not be? Could it not still retain that reading?
I mean, it could. It's just when they kind of don't touch on it and they are very much focused on like, yeah, this is what my thought process was. It
Yeah,
just kind of
yeah.
detracts from it because you know,
They
you kind of having to reconcile this. You know, oh, I thought she would meant this. I didn't really have that motivation attached to it. So now this kind of skews, you know, what I was thinking about her character in that moment and that thought process. So it makes it even harder to kind of think of, you know, what would be most
Mhm.
poignant to you on an individual level.
I guess you could also kind of go one step further with that, and say that Athena's guilt didn't allow her to think that she valued singing that highly to say something like that, or didn't allow her to believe in that excuse, even if it was true or not. Or like Athena is an unreliable narrator talking about her feelings for that day. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, you could,
it all gets way too murky. So I totally think what you're saying is incredibly valid, and I would tend to agree. Yeah.
yeah, really. I felt like Avenire was the perfect kind of like fan service where you had, you know, moments that didn't focus on the original cast, and so it kind of commodified their interactions together. And I think we talked about this like after we watched it together, but just the fact that we don't, this isn't a series, it's just a movie. In our last, you know, 3 4 entries that we would have watched, they went from graduating at the end of Origination to the time skip into Avenire, where, you know, you had episodes where they kind of still interacted together, and it doesn't give you the full scope of, you know, time of how long they aren't, you know, hanging out together. Like in the real world, obviously
I was
it's been
about to bring
years.
it up. Okay, if you didn't go there, I was about to bring up the fact that this all happened over 15 years, or 13 years, whatever it is. So it does have that effect for those of us who are engaged with the meta narrative of Aria. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're watching it if you're getting into Arya now, it's gonna be completely lost on you because I mean I don't expect that they're gonna make a whole series just so they can, have this commodification not exist. Like that's just, ludicrous. But I wouldn't be against it. But yeah, it just when you go from the Avenire stuff where they're kind of interacting and then you go into this, you're not getting the full scope of it's been X amount of years since they talked to each other. Like it just seems like they talked to each other yesterday. So them trying to bank on that much was a bit much for me. I used much there. It's like 4 times to emphasize how much.
It wasn't too much. Don't worry about it.
Well, I think
But
what I would have preferred out of, I still enjoyed Crepuscolo. I have no Italian. I think what I would have preferred out of it though is more emphasis on these newer characters rather than going back to the old ones, which is what Avenire was doing. Although I wasn't so big on that because I watched it like right after Origination, so that was just kind of like a hard follow up, to say the least.
I totally agree with you, though, Sai, in that aspect. I really want to see Akari play Alice's role to I.
Yeah,
I want to see a lot of that,
and
and the glimpses that we got of those characters are so cool, even in Crepuscolo.
yeah, well, and I'm hoping that is something we do get more of in the upcoming film Benedizione. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Although it's going to be quite a while before we're able to watch that.
That and fucking Al didn't show up at all. Looking for Al.
No, yeah,
That's my favorite character. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah,
I forget
he's
who
on the
Al is.
cover. I
Al the
didn't know about
gnome,
him.
Oh yeah, the glasses guy.
Aika's love interest.
He's on the cover for the next film, so hopefully he's in it.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Have a
can't imagine that they're gonna focus on the new characters in the last film.
No, because one of the other key visuals is also
Akira.
Aika and Akira.
Which, is a bit of a shame, but it's the last film.
It's the curtain call.
Well, after the 5 other curtain calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out what that I thought Avenire was supposed to be the last ones. And they somehow snuck the movie in there on me.
It gets confusing because it's called the curtain call trilogy, but then Avenire is 3 episodes, so you could think that's a trilogy, but no, it's not. It's Avenire, Crepuscolo, Benedizione.
What's the Arietta? That's the OVA after Natural, right?
Yeah, it's between Natural and Origination.
And that was supposed to be a curtain call too, right?
I have no idea.
I don't think so, because
well, okay, so after the first season, there was no guarantee that Natural was going to happen. It was just well received enough that they did Natural. So in that way, the final episode of Aria the Animation is a curtain call, and it kind of feels that way too. Like it kind of does.
Origination is the big curtain call, really.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah,
and then
I don't remember the area. I'm gonna butcher that pronunciation. Ariete. I don't remember it being much of a curtain. It definitely had a nice poignant ending, but I don't remember it being a good stopping point for the series. I always thought of it as the bridge into Origination.
That's fair. Yeah, it is kind of a self-contained little thing.
Same, although I think we all probably watched this with Origination as a thing that already existed.
Exactly.
So seeing it air when it first came out might also just give like a different impression.
You would have to check the dates because I think temporally is what I'm going with there.
Okay.
Yeah, all I know is Natural ended in 2006, Aria was 2007, and Origination was 2008. So it's a possibility, but that's definitely far enough apart as far as just the years go that they could have not known.
Yeah, enough for a next season to be green lighted in the meantime.
Yeah.
So yeah, is there anything else we can think of?
We've only talked about the crux of what do you call it, Crepuscolo. We haven't talked about all the other stuff too. We talk about Benefana, Athena and Benefana cosplay. Did that not hit you on a deep primal level, or do you not find? Okay,
I mean, I liked it.
Just me.
But
okay.
it did not. It did not hit me on that deep level, though.
Oh.
I was trying to think. Like, I don't remember. I thought it was kind of like a weak kind of movie until I think the part that I complained about. Really,
Right. I get you that it's kind of just neither here nor there. You got the new sylph, you got the new yeah.
Yeah, you get like this little vignette of this thing that might have happened at some point. It's just like, oh, it's cute.
No, I understand that I was being pandered to, and I kind of get it that they were using a lot of what I loved about the previous series to set me up in that way to manipulate me emotionally.
Well, clearly they saw that your video entry for Joe's thing last year, where you talked about those side characters and
shout outs to Pause and Select. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but I made a tweet that like when those characters showed up, the oh boy, I'm gonna try and remember the names. Atora and oh man, oh. God,
they're your favorite characters. You gotta know.
I can't do it. Atora and the other one. When the Two Orange Planet people from the Trighetto episode, of course, is a video I made. It's link to the top right here. Check the card. Click the card.
Top, there's gonna be like 30 annotations for this whole thing.
Sub the
it's fine. It's like an hour long.
I gotta, man. Yeah, that episode is, I would say, my favorite episode in all of anime. I don't know, maybe episode 24 of Evangelion, maybe the Kill la Kill OVA. There's a couple ones that I really, really love, but the Trighetto episode is up there. And when those characters showed up, I started bawling. I started crying.
Just
like,
instantly.
Seriously, just instantly. Just like, oh no, they knew. That's like that's such an obscure fan service, right? To show that those characters are still Undines, that they were on the verge of quitting in the Trighetto episode, or at least the Tora was, and that they still are there. And oh my god.
I do think that was now I'm thinking about it, like, I don't know how I feel about the connection of like them running into Athena as like a when she was like in school.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
they all
and
had like
weird.
that chance to like it definitely fits into the series of like the chance encounters.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know where else they would have put it, but it does feel kind of weird.
Yeah, sure. It was to show that how Athena was received among the wider population, and totally fits in with the characters on both sides. So I wasn't upset with it, but yeah, it was coincidental, I guess. Let's say.
But also, everyone in Neo Venezia knows each other, so
yeah, come on.
It's big town,
I gotta say,
small town feel.
Yeah, that's definitely a strength of the series.
Yeah. Now, I continued to weep throughout most of this film. I don't know, and then cry very heavily at the bits that we talked about with Athena directly, but you guys weren't moved emotionally in the same way.
No, so like I think a part of the problem is I was so emotionally impacted by the end of Avenire. Like,
oh wow, really? Okay, yeah.
That part just hit me so fucking hard because it's so like metatextual where it's the whole cast, they get together and they're just talking, they're like, oh, it's a shame that Athena couldn't make it, and just that
Right. You
whole
need to provide
sequence.
the context for the viewers, Mumi.
Okay, for anybody that has not seen Aria, or at least is just not familiar with the happenstance behind the production of Aria, the voice actress for Athena died back in, was it 2000?
Before Avinere was, or close enough. Yeah,
I think it was like
a while ago.
2009 or 2011.
Yeah.
But she died of like cancer, and so it was a very sudden death. And she was quite young, and so the context of like that last episode is like they all just get together and they're talking about all the memories and whatnot, and they kind of lament that they couldn't get Athena to join them, and so you get a lot of I guess like lamp shading where they're obviously alluding to the voice actress behind Athena, not Athena herself. And the ending is just them playing a recording of Athena's voice actress, singing one of the songs from Aria. And they just kind of talk about how it's a miracle. And to me, that's almost like them saying, it's just a miracle that they were able to incorporate her into that, just with the miracle of technology, essentially, where it's so seamless that you don't necessarily know that she's dead because they're able to still utilize, the things that she has left behind into the work itself.
Yep. It's a
but
moment.
that whole sequence was like, I can go back now and it will just fucking kill me.
Yeah. It was definitely emotionally affecting because I knew exactly what you're talking about too. I looked it up. It's Aria Kawaii, and it was you may be wondering how Athena was able to be in this thing if her voice actor's dead. It's the singer for Athena who sings her song or does her singing roles died in 2008. The actual voice actor is still, the talking voice actor is still there.
Speaking of, I think we did talk about this, which I don't know if you want to get back on this, but the Akari's voice actress was just sounded so off.
She did,
in this
didn't
movie
she?
to me.
She did, didn't she? She did.
And I don't remember her sounding that off in Avenire. I don't know if something just like happened in the last 5 years. I mean, it definitely would be understandable because from origination to now, that's over 10 years. Like, your voice is going to change. But it's just surprising because Avenire, I don't remember that at all. Like, I don't remember it being an issue, and it just stood out so much in this movie the whole time. I'm like, what?
Well, okay, I looked it up, and yeah,
good.
the voice actress for Akari in Japanese, because now we can talk about the English dub. But yeah, she has not done anything since Avenire. She has not done any voice acting work. And honestly, she only did Avenire. Before that, she was Maria Holic was the last thing she did in 2009, Gosick 2011. And after that,
doing anything since then? Like
nothing. There are no roles listed.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
This episode of the Weeb Crew is brought to you by Rope. Need help tying things together? Just enjoy making sailor knots? Then rope is exactly what you need. Whether it be for securing a heavy load of firewood to the back of your truck for use during these cold winter nights, making a tire swing in your backyard for your kids, binding the hands and feet of your victims, tying it into a noose to hang yourself with
so you can finally escape this existential hell,
or even using it as a clothesline, rope is perfect for the job. Available at a hardware store near you.
The Weeb Crew Podcast, not actually sponsored by Rope.
we can spile this off, but like we're doing a movie watch, with normies, with non-anime fans. Do people call people normies anymore? Is that like
Fuck if I know.
am I
I've
gonna get
never
canceled?
been hip with the cool
Anyway,
kids.
non-anime fans are, and they asked me to pick an anime film, and I was like, well, you fucking want to watch Promare? Do you want to watch, Belladonna of Sadness? What are we talking here? Like, what do you fuckers want to watch? Do you want to watch, Grave of the Fireflies? Like, you can't just tell me to watch an anime movie. It's a whole form of media. It's not a genre. So I just picked. Do you know what I picked?
Ghost of the
You
Shell.
know what I picked? Yeah, it was Ghost. No, it was not Ghost in the Shell. That's not a bad suggestion though. It's like kind of sci-fi, kind of heady, kind of cool, right? Not a bad.
That was the easy choice.
No, what's an even easier choice? Come on, Sai, get in here.
Your Name.
Thank you. God, yes. I picked Your Name. Exactly. And that's exactly why did I pick Your Name, Sai?
It's the second biggest anime film ever made.
Exactly. And why is it the second biggest anime film ever made? It's the most it's the most widest
get
appeal.
into it.
The broadest net. It's easy to get into, right? Exactly. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, if I'm trying to sell you on something, unless I know you very personally and I know what makes you tick, and I know that you know what makes you tick, and what that you know what you like, then I'm gonna start broad. And I have to start broad. And maybe I won't drastically represent all the greatest elements of this series and why I like it, but at least I can get a broad net and kind of get you on board.
So you see, this is an interesting topic because I've kind of talked about, what you would recommend to people that have never really consumed anime outside of maybe like Pokemon or whatever. Generally, I always try to recommend something that I think has a wide appeal, but is something that I could talk to them about. Because I feel like a lot of what people kind of look for when they're watching anime is like that communal aspect. And I think that's why, stuff like Naruto and Fullmetal Alchemist and One Piece all get so huge, is because they just kind of accrue all these people. They start off being pretty popular to begin with, so more people over time just start reading it. So you just have this large group of people that talk about it. Obviously, I think that's kind of less of a aspect in the current age, just by virtue of, I can jump on Facebook and type in Technolize and find some kind of Technolize community and find somebody to talk about it with. I mean, if you're just completely technologically illiterate. But I generally try to like find something that I would want to talk to them about. So when I think about stuff that I would recommend to people that haven't ever really consumed an anime before, I think like, obviously you have like Ghost in the Shell, you have Cowboy Bebop, those are like the no-brainer things.
Well, those are the no-brainer things for the previous generation. I would say it's something like Demon Slayer, I guess, or Attack on Titan nowadays.
But see, that's not what I would recommend to people.
Yeah, that's not what you would recommend, but I think that's something that's get recommended a lot. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're saying that you know something about the person, or what?
No, just like as a just, hey, I've never watched an anime and you don't know me, what should I watch? Like, I always tried. Usually I'll just list off like a handful of things that kind of have a broad appeal.
Right.
But like, I remember, so not too long ago, I built my PC at a friend's house, and we just happened to have to go by a computer store, and I saw they had Millennium Actress, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that was on Blu-ray. So I picked that up as I was buying some like paste. And
Thermal
we were kind of
paste and Satoshi Kon. Yeah, it's That's exactly what I go to the computer store for.
So I'm building it as his house, and he's like, "Oh, what should we watch?" And just have it in the background. I'm like, we can watch whatever," because I don't want to kind of concentrate on building the computer. And so he just, mind you, I wasn't even planning on opening it because I'm one of those. Like, I have all this anime downloaded already. I just buy it just to own it. And so I just keep it sealed.
Your friend's like, this copy of Paprika, why is it here? And you're like, oh man, I bought some RAM, and the guy just threw it in with it.
But yeah, so he just opens it up and he's like, "Oh, let's just watch this." I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And I'm sitting there like, I'm not even paying attention. Like, I've seen Millennium Actress. It's in my top 10 anime.
Sure.
Period.
Can I say that, like, literally I was watching Millennium Actress, seeing if I could share this with these people, because that is probably one of my favorite anime movies. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no. So this will tell you, like, it would have been a good option. Because I mean, he watches like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z or whatever, but he's not really into anime. He's watched a few bad stuff I've showed him, just like when we're sitting around just dicking around, finding something to do to laugh at or whatever.
It was Queen's Blade. No, it was Strike Witches. I'm sorry.
But no, I'm not even paying attention to the movie, and he's over there just drinking and watching this movie while I'm putting this computer together.
Watching one of the greatest anime films ever made, sure.
And like it gets like toward the end where you got like
where
the
it starts
snow
getting really
scene.
good. Yeah.
And he's over there like tearing up, and he's like, "Holy shit, dude! This is I'm going on this emotional journey right now. Like, this is so good." And I'm just like, "Oh, yeah, it's great." Like,
yeah,
duh.
Oh, that's crazy. See, I absolutely looked at Millennium Actress and I discarded it because I was like, I don't know if I can ask these people to get this invested in this period piece kind of more psychological thing. Like, I knew the payoff was going to be better than Your Name, but I didn't know if I could ask these people to sit down and push through it.
I don't know, because Millennium Actress is just like such a good visceral experience. Like,
yes.
Your Name is, I mean, it's not bad. It looks very pretty. It's got a lot of nice effects.
But it's got the haha like body switching thing for the first 30 minutes of the film. So
yeah, the Freaky Friday relationship that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so you can kind of, that's again the popular, like, I would never in a million years say that Your Name is a better film than Millennium Actress holistically, but I think there's some element of like, could we make an argument here that Your Name is more consumable or more
accessible.
digestible? Yeah, accessible. That's the right word. Accessible than Millennium Actress.
So what you're saying is Your Name is the anime equivalent of Titanic.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can agree with that.
And the sales bear that out. Yeah.
Just when
Definitely.
I'm recommending stuff, I would steer. Not that I wouldn't recommend Your Name. I don't hate the movie.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
It's just not one that I'd want to talk about. Like, if they started wanting to talk to me about it, I'd be like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Interesting story about Your Name. I actually went and watched that in Japan.
Oh, really?
So when I went to Japan, what year would that have been? 2016?
I think it was 2017. I don't know.
I think it might have been 2017. I went both years, so it's hard for me to remember.
Oh, Mumi with all the money. Oh my god.
I don't remember. Anyway, we went and it was premiering like the Friday when I arrived. And so I was like, "Oh, I really want to go watch that." And my girlfriend was like, "Oh, yeah,
Mumi
we
with
should."
a girlfriend. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
She's like, "Yeah, that'd be really cool to watch. We should watch that." And it just kind of got put on the back burner, kind of thing. I mean, it wasn't a priority for me or anything. And then it kind of took off because obviously that was before it premiered.
Oh, you
And
were there when it premiered. Oh,
yeah, I was there when it
man.
premiered, and I didn't watch it when I went there when it premiered. And I get home, and we were kind of out of touch. We weren't on our phones and on
Right,
social
yeah,
media and
because
shit.
you're traveling. Yeah.
Right. So when I get back, she's like, "Yeah, your name, that movie you wanted to watch is like one of the fastest selling box office hits in Japanese history." And you're just like, I was like, yeah, I wanted to watch it.
So you immediately booked a train or a plane ticket right back to Japan to watch it again.
No, so I wanted to watch it, but it never happened. And I went back the next year, and since it was so huge and they just wanted it to make as much money as possible for records, it was still in theaters
Oh my god,
a
that's
full
great.
year later.
That's amazing.
So I was in Japan when it premiered, didn't go see it, and I saw it a full year later in an empty theater.
Oh, holy shit.
No
That's awesome.
subtitles, no
Yeah.
context, which
Yeah.
granted you didn't need a whole lot.
Yeah.
That was this interesting experience for sure. Almost as interesting as when we watched Shin Godzilla and The Night is Long without
Walk On Girl.
subtitles.
Oh, Jesus.
Both great movies to
That
watch.
seems. I didn't enjoy watching The Night is On Walk On Girl with subtitles, so I can't imagine what it was like. All the talking in that.
I can't imagine watching Shin Godzilla without subtitles. I guess it'd be horribly confusing.
Yeah, I mean, you picked up context, but I'll say that when I watched it, it just seemed kind of camp bad.
And then you get subtitles, and you're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, because like you have no context to any, like you just see like what's happening, but
Yeah,
you obviously as someone that doesn't speak Japanese, I'm not getting any of the inflection of their voice. The tone's not registering, so I just see them like having all these talky scenes. I'm just like, okay, this is
the
pretty
comedy
standard
of
Godzilla stuff. Okay,
the comedy
and
of like
then
all these government officials trying to pass the buck on what to fucking do about it.
like the entire like meta narrative of like them shitting on like officials just completely went over my head. And I'm just sitting there.
And
Shin
spoilers,
Godzilla.
but that's like 90% of that movie.
Yeah, it is. It's less of a Godzilla movie and more of a Japanese government is fucking ineffective at disasters.
Holy shit! Like watching like in Shin Godzilla, there is a lot of technobabble.
Yes.
So there's not even like a lot of words you could just pick up on that you might have picked up from like anime. Like
no.
Japanese is a very scripted language, so I could survive walking around like Japan on my own. Watching that movie, I was just like, what the fuck is happening? The whole time. I was like, well, I'll just like have content. And I would ask her, and she's like, some of the stuff they're saying is very like advanced. Like I don't even know how to translate some of this. Very
I love it.
Very fun stories there.
I watched. This is neither here nor there, and not going to be as long a story. But when I was in Tokyo, I watched, The Ghost in the Shell, but with Scarlett Johansson. And it was, what was it? It was dubbed into Japanese. Yes, and it had English subtitles.
That is
And
amazing.
I was like losing my mind at how crazy that I don't know. It was just this weird cultural spiral.
It's a real experience, really.
Yeah.
I didn't know they did that. Like I knew they dubbed movies.
Yeah.
And I know they have subtitles for like English
There
dubs.
are some. Yep.
But I didn't know they dubbed in Japanese and put English subtitles. That's kind of why.
I may be misremembering it. I don't know. But no, they have English subtitles in a couple big theaters for certain shows.
I mean, it would surprise me.
Yeah. Like I tried to go to just the non-dubbed version, just hearing Skojo just talk normally, but
In English.
yeah, no, I went to the Japanese dubbed one, and I sat down and I was like, oh, made a mistake.
So when did you go to Japan?
I've been twice. I went in 2015, 2013, and 2015.
Oh, so it's been
I
a
have no
while.
idea. No, I have no idea. No, it was 2015 and 2017. Yes, that is correct.
When did you go in 2017?
I saw the Sailor Moon live action play the first time there, La Reconquista. And you would have to look and see what it was. I have a flyer for one of the Precure films that was airing, and I do not remember what Precure film it was. Ooh, and what else did I saw? I saw The Wind Rises. So whenever The Wind Rises was in theaters. The second time I went, what else did I see? I saw the Tokyo Tower. I figured out the building that Sakura was standing on top of to be looking at the Tokyo Tower in the dream sequence in
Oh,
episode 1. Yeah. Yeah. That
you
was
did
fun.
what do they call that when you
What
is
a
it
weeb tour.
pilgrimaging? Is it
Oh,
pilgrimaging?
Yeah, pilgrimaging.
There's a specific term for it.
Yeah. I
Japanese
think it's
that
pilgrimaging. I got to go to the Keon school is a big place,
Yeah, we did that. We went to the I mean, we didn't go out of our way to do it.
Oh,
Though we
you
went
there?
to what?
Where'd you
To
go?
the Keon school? No.
Oh,
We
okay.
went to the Love Live Shrine, which is just the shrine in Akihabara.
I remember it was Little Witch Academia. When did Little Witch Academia air? I went to the
2017.
pop-up cafe for Little Witch Academia, and I talked to the person there, and she said, "Which one is your favorite?" And I said, "Akko," and I said, "I'm watching this show from America." I said it all in Japanese, and then I spent $200 and left. It was amazing. It was amazing. I still have material.
What did you spend $200 on? I don't know. I just spent it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I did. It was a fever dream. I remember like a little Diana unicorn parfait thing oh man, it was so
I mean,
cool.
to be fair, that's just Japan in a nutshell. You just spend hundreds of dollars and you don't even know what you spent.
Yeah. The best deal I got was a Princess of the Crystal figurine. I got it used for like $5. And then a Kyoko Sakura Nendo for $10. All the used figurines, super cheap.
Oh.
And they're totally fine. They're in perfect condition.
Oh yeah. No.
Oh, I got Scanny and knee socks. Scanny and knee socks. You familiar with panty and stocking plus
Oh, yeah.
barbell? Okay. Scanny and knee socks figurines. I got them for $80 for the pair. They're worth $120 individually. They're in the box and everything, and I'm like, what are you people doing?
You are opening up a can of worms you don't even know.
Oh yeah, you're gonna talk about the merchandise episode. You check out my Sailor Moon cels that I have framed downstairs. True story.
How much those run you?
See, I wanted to buy cels last time I went to Japan, but you know how you said that stuff was cheap? It is not cheap anymore, unfortunately. Like when I went to, so there's I don't know if you went there, but there's it's a part of Tokyo. It's called Nakano Broadway, and it's basically like a giant Mandarake kind of complex, and they've got like different, smaller stores in there here and there. In there they have like cell dealers, where you can literally just go through boxes of cels. Like there were like a Kage no An cels that were like $500 yen, so less than $5 even.
Oh my god, that is what do you call it? Anne of Green Gables? Is that
yeah? Anne of Green Gables. Like I saw Legend of Galactic Hero sell for it was 1,000 yen, so it was like $10.
Bruh. Even if it's a minor character,
Yeah.
No, it was Reinhard.
Oh goddamn!
But the reason why it was cheap is because he was putting the crown on and so it was like obscuring part of his face.
Yeah.
Still?
Which that's
Still.
how they price out the cels. It's like a lot of the Anne ones I saw was like Anne like at her desk in a corner or something.
Some in betweens, but you didn't do
but-
like a talking no video. You didn't just walk into anime studios and just pick up production materials and leave.
Yeah, the glory days.
Ah.
But yeah, I kind of bought all the conventional merchandise like figures and stuff like that I was interested in. And so there was 2 years, a full year or 2 years, I can't remember, that I didn't go to Japan. And I was like, next time I go, all I want to do is like buy, different stuff that people aren't collecting necessarily. So I bought a bunch of vinyls and stuff. I bought like the Ashinojo soundtrack. We got like 6 volumes of the Galaxy Express soundtrack on vinyl. And like the original Macross soundtracks on vinyl. And I really wanted to buy like Evangelion cels because the last time I had gone to Japan, I didn't have as much money. And so I went, and they had like, I saw that they had a cell from Dance Like You Want to Win, where it was, half, the left half was Ava Unit 1 and the right half was Ava Unit 2, and it was like split, and they're like running at the camera. It was the full, had the background and everything, and it was like, I think it was 50,000 yen, so it was like $500. And I was like, man, that is so cool, but I don't have $500. I don't, but going back, I was like, I want to buy something like that. $500 is completely doable. Fucking, I go back, and this is 2019. The cheapest Evangelion cell I could find was $2,000.
Oh my god!
And I was like, fuck my life, dude. Holy shit.
Why would it? What would have even caused that like sudden price hike?
Well, they are a non-recurable thing.
Yeah,
They're not making more.
but still, they've been around for like over 20
They
years.
also had that I can't remember what year it was. They banned, I think they banned the sell of cels to foreigners, because like, at least on like websites and stuff, because it's like a Japanese historical thing.
I see.
There's been some weird like legislation deals that have gone on, so I think cels have gone up in price quite a bit.
Okay.
Plus you have people that are kind of getting more into anime in general.
Yeah.
I personally, I blame 90s aesthetics accounts. People are just buying these cels and don't even know what they're from.
Oh, I don't think it's that. I think you can watch Neon Genesis Evangelion on Netflix, and that's a big deal.
I don't seriously think that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. If you
definitely
want to talk
look
about
into,
buying
like,
figures,
I'll definitely look into like that stuff getting banned. That sounds interesting.
Oh, I don't know. I bought stuff on Buy Yahoo auctions. That's where I bought my
Yeah.
cells last year.
yeah, I can't remember the exact legislation. I know they've passed some stuff about it being like Japanese. Those might be like already have been sold and out of Japan.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure. I just remember they've done some legislation
We'll fact
specifically
check
for
it.
cels. Yeah, fact check me. Tell me I'm a fucking idiot.
So, it seems like Mumi is half right here. I looked it up afterwards, and it doesn't seem to be an explicit ban, maybe. But effectively, what the Japanese government is looking to do is to create a media arts national center, which would effectively be a way to procure anime production materials and store them in all in one sort of like an archive in Japan, and that would effectively really limit the ability to export these materials outside of Japan, which is sort of the point. So, back to the podcast.
But no, going back to Aria, actually, when I was in Japan, I
No,
found.
no, timeout. No Aria cells. None. No Digi Paint.
Well, yeah.
Terrible. Terrible. I was so disappointed.
You know, you say that, but I do have
I don't have
a.
any Princess Tutu cells either. Wait, where?
It didn't have cells.
No, no, why not? Is it still? Why
It's
not?
still it was digital.
No, I did not know this. No.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
But you say that, but I do have a cell reproduction of Mumi
Sure.
in Rebellion.
They
where it's
sold
like-
those, right? The official ones from the Shaft store?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
sold a couple cell reproductions. Yeah, I was gonna get the one with from Rebellion with Madoka and Homura shooting the bow together up at the top of the Grief Seed. Just because I think that's the moment the should have ended. You know.
I got the one of Mami, like her reveal and like profile when she's like after she's owned Homer essentially. That's like
okay.
my
Yeah,
favorite
yeah.
shot of Mami.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. I know which one.
But yeah, speaking of going back to Aria, tying this back into that, I went to a hobby off and I found a Alicia figure.
Ooh.
For I think she was selling for at least like 50 or 80, somewhere in that range. And I found her for 2,000 yen, so for like $20. Absolutely nothing wrong with her. I'm like, I don't really even want this figure that much. But how the fuck do you pass that up?
Was it a good figure? Oh man, now I gotta.
It's not my favorite. My favorite of hers is the Good Smile one they did.
Okay. Oh, we gotta plug. They just announced an Akari Nendo this past weekend.
No,
Yes.
they revealed the prototype.
Right. Yes, the sculpt for it, and
she
it
has been announced
beautiful.
for 5 or 6 years.
Oh, I hate it. Oh man, the stories of all the figures that I've pre-ordered that I have coming to me in some time in 2022 or 2023. Uh, but yes, and then the other thing I want to say is that the manga Right Stuff is trying to do another print of the English versions of the masterpiece collections of the manga for Aria. Everybody go buy it. Rightstuff.com, Aria the masterpiece. The whole collection costs 120 or something dollars, and it's the best money you'll ever spend. Do it.
We are not sponsored by Right Stuff.
I want it just because I have the Japanese versions of the manga, and I want the English versions there too.
I can't believe it. We're 2 episodes in. We've already become corporate shills.
Yeah, we've already fucking sold out. Holy shit.
Do we have a guy at Right Stuff? Can we get sponsored by it? Can we make a partnership happen?
See, speaking of manga, I hate buying manga. The only manga I bought was Taniguchi's Summon of the Gods, because for so long you couldn't read it online anywhere. So the only way you could read it was just by buying it. So I bit the bullet and bought it. But it just seems like such a poor value compared to like buying anime. Like, especially when you compare it to like Japan, you can just go and buy a full the full series of a manga for like $5 to $20 depending how long it is. Whereas
or you could just pay for the app and just read it, you know, or read it legitimately for a fraction of what it would cost to own a physical copy.
Yeah. Do you like reading stuff on like an app though?
No, I don't like reading manga at all. I don't. I have read 3 manga in my entire life. Well, 3 non-hentai manga in my entire life.
Oh wow.
And that is Aria, that is Komi-san Can't Communicate, and that is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. So
are you looking forward to that Komi-san anime coming up here soon?
Yeah, like, and this is if we want to spiral off into a new direction here, but like the amount of times I was reading the Komi-san manga, and me being like somebody on the spectrum that couldn't go into a gas station to get a pack of gum because I'd have to talk to the the clerk to pay, and I
Yeah.
was too terrified to do that. That didn't talk for an entire year in middle school at all to anyone because I just couldn't. Um, yeah, the amount of stuff that I saw in that manga that I just hit me on like this deep, deep level. Uh, ugh,
Hmm.
I can't. If they manage to capture that, I think it will be a success. But then I saw the opening. Have you guys seen the OP for Komi-san?
No, not yet.
It's so good. Oh God. Oh, it's so good. Put a link in the thing. Here, you
In
got
the
it. It's
top
on
right.
YouTube
There
somewhere.
we go.
Yeah,
There
it's
you
on
go.
YouTube.
Here,
Oh,
popping up.
by the time this goes up, the first episode will have aired, so I'm sure you'll
More
find
than
it.
likely, yeah.
Go watch it. Oh my God. I am so excited for it. Can I ask you guys what your anime of the year has been so far?
So far,
Yeah, I'll let you take this one first.
So, well, for me, I want to say Mushoku Tensei, but I'm going to put that with an asterisk because I want to wait for this second core to, finish, and then I'll have more of a definitive opinion on it. But other than that, I'm going to say Nagatoro is my current
Yeah,
anime of the
it's
year.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
Um,
as much as I'd like to, so that could change at some point down. It probably
Well,
will, maybe.
here's the thing. You never have to qualify that because if you knew something was going to appeal to you, you would have watched it, So
You
your
say that. You
discrimination on the first part of not watching the shows that you don't think are going to hit you qualifies that.
I mean, there's stuff that I just watch things. There's definitely stuff that's like aired that might interest me. Maybe not definitively, but
yeah, I've just reached the point that I just have so little time to watch anything anymore, and there's so much stuff that I'm not. It's not that I'm not interested. It's just I just don't have the time.
yeah,
Like most of what I watch now is just contained in group watches.
yeah, same. If I had the time to watch everything that I was interested in a given season, I definitely would, but I don't.
Um, as far as anime of the year for me is probably uh Dragon Maid, I guess right now.
Of
I was
the
gonna
of the
say,
three you've seen from this year,
I mean, okay, I'll take that back. If we include movies and stuff, which I generally don't, it would be Rebuild
yeah,
4.0.
yeah.
yeah, I guess I didn't love Thrice Upon a Time like as an entire product. I love parts of it super much,
Yeah.
but there were better all arounds than Thrice Upon a Time.
See,
You were in on that giant ship battle stuff in the middle with the red
no, but
stuff and the whip and the.
like I wasn't in on that, but I was in for the majority of it. I would say. I mean, you got the first part with okay,
We can't do this. We can't
Not
make this
the-
Yeah,
a Thrice
we're
Upon a
doing the
Time
thing I said
podcast.
we wouldn't
We
do.
can't do it. Yeah, we
yeah,
can't do it.
we'll have to do a whole Rebuild one on its own.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we'll bring you on for that one. Maybe
Sure.
have a couple other people that want to talk about it or something. Have a big powwow for it.
Oh boy, it's gonna be a pleasure to edit.
But yeah, Rebuild would be my favorite. Then if we're just doing series, it'd be Kobayashi, which that doesn't mean a whole lot coming from me right now because really the only things that are challenging, like even coming close to it, are like Odd Taxi and Beastar Season 2, which I have not even finished,
Oh
which
my
is why
lord.
like I'm literally halfway through it and I just like I don't know, I just stalled out because oh no, that's what I was watching it before my surgery happened. So
Oh, I see. Yeah.
once that happened, like everything just fucking fell apart for me. Not literally, but you know what I mean. That could have been taken literally.
Supposed to go the other way of surgery.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't. They just took a part of me, took a part out of me.
Only one part, but they also put something in. You'll find out next time you get an X-ray.
That was just something that they forgot to take out.
Oh,
You gotta stop this, or people are gonna turn off this podcast.
I mean, we were already at the two.
I
almost
mean,
2 hours.
If you saw what I labeled the timestamps on the last one, I think the last like 5 minutes is just labeled the slow death of the podcast.
Yo,
Yeah.
so if anybody's still listening to this, put a smiley face in the comments on YouTube.
Be
Put
sure
a,
to like, comment, and subscribe.
put a big XD, or what code word should we say? What phrase should we tell them to say?
Just put "I'm fucking dead" with no context.
Yeah, there we go. I'm fucking dead. Put that in the comments if you made it this far.
Nobody's gonna fucking put that in the comments. Not even the people that made it this far.
No.
What were we talking about before that? Oh, Komi-san.
Komi.
Yeah. So like, mine is Zombieland Saga R. The fucking 10 out of 10. It was one of the best.
Was it?
One of
Oh,
the
good
best
to hear.
seasons I've ever seen.
Was
Like,
it better than the first season?
Yes.
Okay.
It made me cry almost every episode. Like
Interesting.
literally, probably 11 out of 12 episodes.
I'm interested to see what they do with the reveal that happened at the end of the first season.
See, that overwhelms everything else. Let's talk about everything that was great about those 12 episodes. That was not just the 3-second kicker at the end of episode 12.
Right.
That was baiting it. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was fantastic. But then I saw this Komi-san thing, and then I saw the OP, and I'm like, this could challenge, man. This could challenge, or even Wonder Egg Priority would be my asterisk. Like if there is a good ending to Wonder Egg Priority, it would probably be my number one show of all time. Like it could be that good,
Really?
and depending on how the ending's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Komi-san could be up there too.
Okay.
I am drinking that Kool-Aid. I am on my hype train. Choo choo.
I don't know what Komi-san is, so I'll have
You'll
to
find
look it
out
up
when you're older.
Or I'll find out when I'm having to link it in the annotation.
Yeah.
You
This
could be
goes
like,
to show
damn,
how
this OP's actually fire. Let me check this out.
This goes to show
You know,
how out of touch, much of an out of touch boomer you are, Mumi.
I mean, you make it sound like it's because I'm old, when in reality, I've just always been out of touch.
Oh,
It's also because you're extroverted too. I think
I'm
it's that.
extroverted?
Yeah. You're a people person, Mumi. Don't lie.
yeah, you job haver.
I don't know about that.
Job haver. You girlfriend haver. God.
I wouldn't
You
consider myself
Discord
very extroverted.
moderator.
Maybe
I
you're
was
just a masochist then.
What?
Like doing all the work to get this podcast up, doing all the work to run a Discord server.
Oh, that's just because I like talking.
See, that's what I'm saying.
I like the sound of my own voice.
I mean, I got in trouble when I was in school. This is Mumi story time with Grandpa Mumi here.
Yeah, like the last 3 people who were listening to this podcast turned it off by now.
Oh yeah, but I got in trouble when I was in 3rd grade for talking, and I was told I had to go sit by the wall and face the wall during class where I couldn't talk. I still continued to talk to the wall, and my teacher was just like, "What is wrong with you?" Because I could just talk because I just like the sound of my own voice. So
that's terrifying.
Oh my God.
yeah, what's really terrifying is all the unlisted podcasts that are still up on this channel of just me talking to myself incoherently for hours at a time.
Oh God, you're like speaking other languages and different voices and stuff. Oh
Yeah, we used to upload them to InfoWars, but you know what happened there.
yeah. Put them up on Live Leak. May it rest in peace or burn in hell.
No, it was interesting that you brought up Zombieland Saga, because I was going to say, this is the 2nd time in a row toward the end of the podcast, we've just suddenly started talking about idol anime.
Yeah. I think the longer it goes on, the more we just start talking about idol anime.
I think that's just like, it's not Murphy's Law. Poe's Law. Is it Poe's Law?
But instead of Nazis, it's idol anime.
Yeah.
The year is 20XX. The only anime in production are idol anime.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the code word for you. It's gonna be Mumi's Law. The longer you talk about anime, the more likely you'll come around to idol anime.
There we go. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
We'll tie it all in together. Yeah, we don't really have a good way to close out. So that's probably why this lasts for so long, because we just struggle to find a way to end everything. So
it's a learning process, and here's the thing: because you guys are young, let me talk. This is Grandpa Clear and Sweet's time to shine. Here we go. But the longer you talk, and the longer that you do, the more that you act upon the world, the more you will find who you are and what you want to be, and you will get better at doing that, and you will be more discerning and more effective in your communication. So I think that being here on episode 2 with you has been a distinct pleasure, because I will always be part of your journey and part of your memory into becoming the content creator that you were always meant to be.
yeah,
So-
you will always hold the esteemed pleasure of being our first guest on the podcast.
You want me to just scream so I know where to end it?
No,
I want
but
you to
yeah,
I want you to scream your favorite Love Live member.
Okay, hold on.
Is this going to be our thing? Just Sai's going to end every podcast by screaming something into the mic?
Instead of screaming my own favorite Love Live character to end it off, I'm just going to scream William Shatner's favorite Love Live character. Right?
Poetic.
Umi!